This is the week 19, passage of Fix-It 2. We are going to, in this first day, remember, try to create 2 sentences where we have a run-on. We're going to fix it by making it a who, which clause. So just be on the alert for that. When we start out, we're going to indent because we have a change in topic. Robin is now addressing a stranger instead of talking to himself. So this counts kind of as a new speaker. Robin Hood then proclaimed to the stranger, "Here is my staff." Now here's where we have our who, which clause. "Here is my staff, it is long and tough." That would be a run-on as it's written. But if you change it to which, then we have a who, which clause. "Here's my staff, comma, which is long and tough. Now wait my coming and meet me if you dare." Remember, we were talking in the Learn It about these coordinating conjunctions and when you need a comma with them. You have to look at what it's joining. We have our main clause, wait my coming and meet me. So and is joining the 2 verbs of that clause. Wait and meet. You only need a comma with it if it's joining 2 main clause, meaning 2 things that could be sentences by themselves, and that's not the case here. And then we have if you dare. So subjects and verbs, we have proclaim is the verb, Robin Hood is the subject. And then we've got this prepositional phrase, to the stranger. He says, here is my staff, is our verb, staff is the subject of is, which is long and tough, is the verb, which is the subject. Here we have wait and meet are both our verbs, and this is one of those imperative sentences. So he's giving a command to the stranger. You is understood in this case. And then if you dare, dare is the verb, you is the subject in that adverbial clause. If you proclaim something, that just means you announce it openly. So we are not going to indent here because Robin is continuing his speech and he's not starting a new sentence. So he says, we will fight until the lesser of us catapults into the stream from too forceful a blow. I'm going to start with prepositional phrases here because I think that makes it easier. Of us is a prepositional phrase, into the stream, and from too forceful a blow. It's talking about how much, so it's T-O-O. We're going to have a period and end quotes. We didn't open quotes because we opened our quotes up here where he says, here's my staff. If you were typing this up, this sentence would begin right there. Main clause is we will fight. The verb here is will fight. The subject is we. Then we have an adverbial clause, until the lesser of us catapults into the stream from too forceful a blow. You've got 3 prepositional phrases in that adverbial clause. Catapults is our verb. Who catapults? Well, it's tempting to think it's us, but of us is a prepositional phrase. So us is the object of this preposition. It's the lesser who is the subject of the verb catapult. For vocabulary, catapult just means thrust quickly or suddenly. Then on day 3, we are going to indent again. Not sure if that, yeah, that should show. We're going to indent again. And we need to open quotes, which I don't know if this will show up or not when I mark it. Didn't. I eagerly await the combat. You should open quotes here. Cried the stranger. Now he's crying, so that's going to be an exclamation point. It goes inside the quotation marks because what he exclaimed was part of the quote. Cried the stranger. Then we end that with a period. We open quotes again. It's still the same speaker, so we don't indent. And the it's we choose is it is. So we want the one with an apostrophe. It's a fair test to prove. We have a who, which clause, who is more adept with the staff, and it will determine the better man. So our prepositional phrases is only with the staff. That's the only prepositional phrase. Notice our coordinating conjunction here. We have, it's a fair test to prove who's more adept with the staff. Then after that, it will determine, and it will determine the better man. So on either side, this is joining two things that could be sentences by themselves. It's a fair test to prove who's more adept with the staff. I could put a period there and it would be fine. If I took out the and started, it will determine the better man. That also could be a sentence. So it's joining two main clauses. So we need a comma for this coordinating conjunction to be strong enough to join them. So for our first main clause, I eagerly await. Await is the verb. I is the subject. Cried the stranger. Cried is the verb. Stranger is the subject. It is a fair test. Is our verb. It is the subject. Now those are all squashed into one word, it's. So who is more adept with the staff? Is the verb, and who is the subject. It will determine the better man. Will determine is our verb, and it is the subject. If you are adept at something, that means you're expert or very skilled at it. So remember, we open quotes here on day 3. And I'll reshare this so you can see the actual quotation marks because they're not showing up. We end quotes here, open quotes again, but don't indent because it's the same speaker. And then we close the quotes here after man, who was the better man. Then on day 4, he nimbly twirled his staff above his head between his fingers and thumb until it whistled through the air, and then he stepped onto the bridge. So our main clauses are, he nimbly twirled the staff above his head between his fingers and thumb. And then another main clause that we have is he stepped onto the bridge. This first main clause is joined to an adverbial clause until it whistled through the air. So want to be aware of that. Prepositional phrases so that we can rule out any things that are not subjects. Above his head, between his finger and thumb, until it whistled, or excuse me, through the air is the prepositional phrase. Until it whistled is an adverbial clause. And onto the bridge is a prepositional phrase. So notice here, fingers and thumb, we have a coordinating conjunction. But what it's joining is these two objects of the preposition. Preposition is between, and these are the objects. So no comma is needed there. But here we have another coordinating conjunction. And you've got a complete sentence here. He nimbly twirled the staff above his head between his fingers and thumb until it whistled through the air. I could put a period there, capitalize this, he stepped onto the bridge. That would be okay. So since I'm joining these two sentences, this and is not strong enough alone, and it needs a comma to be strong enough. For the correct usage, we're not comparing two things, we're telling about when it happened. So it would be and then the main clause is he stepped onto the bridge. We'll end that with a period. Subjects and verbs. He nimbly twirled his staff. Twirled is our verb. He is the one who did it until it whistled through the air. Whistled is the verb. It is the one who whistled. He stepped onto the bridge. Stepped is the verb, and he is the one who did it. If you do something nimbly, you do it quickly and lightly in movement. So let me just stop this share and reshare it so you can see everything. And then you can pause the video so that you make sure you've got all the corrections you need to have. If you have any questions about anything, make a note of it, and you can hop on Office Hours Tuesdays between 10 and 12 and ask me those questions. Make the most out of this, getting the corrections and getting answers to your question, because that's how you truly learn the grammar and internalize it. You can get so good at grammar if you do that. So go ahead and pause here. You've got all your vocabulary right there. Make sure that your corrections are in a different color than what you did your original edits, and then upload that so I can check your work, and I will see you in class.